Bumper is on air. Right, it's 365 days less to the general election of 2022. And of course, as negotiations and political formations shake up, the country's Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, is racing against time to ensure that it delivers a credible, free and verifiable election. Now, the Commission, through its chairperson, Wafula Chebukati, has addressed the concerns over a possibility of postponement of the August 9th general elections. And this is what he has said, and I'll quote, "IEBC does not react to what an individual says. What matters for us is what the law says, and the law says there will be an election on 9th of August 2022. That's what we know, and that's what we are preparing for. But if there is any variation in the law, then the Commission will abide by that. But as we speak, we are planning for 9th of August 2022, and everything is geared towards that." That is what Wafula Chebukati, the chairperson of the IEBC, has been able to say concerning that. We'll be able to diverge more on that or talk about it on this conversation tonight. The second in command and also the president's principal assistant is not mincing his words anymore. And of course, Deputy President William Ruto has heavily condemned the handling of the Turkish national Harun Aydin, who's suspected of terror crimes. And of course, through his Twitter account, Deputy President Ruto said, just talked and apologized on behalf of the Kenya government to Aydin Harun, now in Turkey, who was politically arrested, tortured and falsely profiled as a terrorist, but later asked to fly out, not to shame those involved. Political pettiness is expensive, dangerous, and will destroy our economy. Shame. This is what the Deputy President, William Ruto, has said concerning that. Now listen, they've been so close yet so far from power. What should Ruto, Kalonzo, Mudavadi do to get it right in 2022? They've been so close to power, acting as vice presidents, yet so far from that particular big seat. What should they do come 2022 in order to get there? And that definitely forms the basis of our conversation tonight. The 2022 winning formula, and of course the countdown to 2022 is definitely on. I want to introduce my able panel right here on the show tonight. As I take a seat, it's going to be a heavy one, that I can promise you. And I want to definitely start off by introducing Sylvia Mulama, who's a member of the ANC Women's League. Thank you for joining us on the show. Also with us is none other Joe Halende, making a return on the show, political analyst and strategist. Thank you for making time on the show.
Thank you.
I love his shoes. He's wearing his Gideon boots. He's none other than Professor George Wajakoya, presidential hopeful, Roots Party of Kenya chairperson. Hizo viatu zimeweza. Gideon boots, eh?
Yeah, but I love this. Sometimes it's good to be flexible.
It's good to be flexible.
Not all the time.
Karibu sana, Prof.
Thank you, thank you.
Karibu sana, Prof. And we also have Hamad Manyora, political analyst and strategist. I have a feeling you're fresh from the function of the Wiper.
Somehow I didn't make it.
Somehow you did not make it. But since you have been invited, you'll be able to talk a bit about it. Right?
Maybe, yes.
Perfect. So let's kickstart this conversation with a look at the less than 365 days to the 2022 elections. Of course, IEBC is yet to actually fully constitute itself. Its acting chief executive officer is actually about to retire. They do not have someone there. Yet, Wafula Chebukati, the chairperson of the commission, insists that as we speak, the polls shall be held according to what the law says, that is 9th of August, unless otherwise. Yet there have been rumors, there have been words going around that there are plans to actually postpone these elections. I want to start with you, Sylvia. They taught me well where I come from. Ladies go first. Where could these rumors be coming from? Who is even thinking of postponing the elections? Why are people talking about it? Do you even see a possibility of that?
Well, first of all, we have a constitution to abide by, which he has emphasized in his statement today, and secondly, The Constitution, the article which is 136 emphasized by 146, says that, you know, it gives parameters on when elections can be postponed.
Yes.
Right now, we don't have a scenario for that to take place. The president himself has reiterated that he's ready to leave office. Everybody has been given the timetable which has been issued by the IEBC to get ready for the elections. They cannot do that without having a clear picture of what's happening in the future. Because it costs a lot of money for all the aspirants and also the IEBC itself to prepare for the elections. So, of course, there's always a lot of rumors. People are anxious. We're in an anxious period right now in the whole country. And anything that raises eyebrows seems to come up as the hottest topic of the day.
Right.
But in my own opinion, I think the elections will go on.
9th of August, 2022.
Yes.
Right. Joe Halende, you are an analyst, but let's just say it as it is, black and white, very allied to UDA.
Yes.
The UDA wing or the UDA teams have been very vocal. Elections should not be postponed even for 1 minute. But people say, lisemwalo lipo, na kama halipo laja. I mean, where would these conversations about a postponement of an election come from? Of course, there are arguments that we do not have the time. The IBC is racing against time, and probably with less than 365 days, they might not be able to be legally constituted to be able to carry out the exercise.
It's only a mad person who may think about postponing the elections in August next year. Why am I talking about a mad person thinking? Because if you look at the people who have come out to pronounce themselves about postponing election, is the likes of octogenarians like my brother from Mulembe, Atwoli. So it's only mad people who can think like that.
Let's respect the elders.
The Constitution, the way my sister said, it's we can say it's clear. Let me just use that one. It's clear. Elections shall be held on August, the second week of August in 2022.
But Chebukati is categorical. He says unless there is there's room that
the only room that Constitution gives is that unless the country is on during war period, that's when you can postpone the election. Unless also the same mad people are planning to start war in this country, that's when we can also talk about postponing the elections. So these other acadabra that they are trying to play to extend the term of none other than Mudhamaki, it's not going to help. But what we need to do is we as a country which respect the rule of law, we respect the Constitution that we gave to ourselves. We must observe it. So elections must go on. IBC currently is preparing for those elections. It has given out timelines because as a politician, you must know that by the end of this year, in December, on 10th, you must have stopped doing Harambes. By next year, February 9th, if you are a civil servant, you must have resigned. Next year, May, party primaries will be happening as we prepare to go to elections.
So there's no room for that.
Yeah.
Let me talk to Professor, who's the chairperson, Roots Party of Kenya, and not just the chairperson, but also a presidential contender. Are you ready for 2022?
Thank you very much. Nothing is impossible in the world.
Secondly,
if there is any society where there are no exceptions, then something is wrong. And I will differ with my brother by referring to people as mad people. Everyone is mad, including himself, because the degree of madness depends from how somebody views it. So we cannot just say that mad people, anything can happen. The Constitution is very clear, and a lot of people don't understand what the Constitution is. If I asked you, what is the Kenyan Constitution? You say, there it is. No, it's the preamble of the Constitution, where there is this phraseology of we, the people. So if the people of Kenya decide that we postpone directly, indirectly, so it be. But when the law says that it's on such and such a day, that's a guiding principle, which actually guides the courts, guides the human beings on the ground, guides Kenyans. And unless we question the questionability of the preamble, then we cannot say it must be. Even the Pope sometimes fails to eat communion when he goes to the church and the communion and the wine glass that he uses in the Vatican is not there. He postpones the Mass. It happened in the 16th century. So let's not be very rigid. Rigidity of the law has to have some kind of flexibility. Remember, this is an act of parliament, which is not within the Constitution. It is just an umbrella and arm of the Constitution to regulate how things go.
Right.
That's where I stop.
That's where you'll stop for now. I'll bring in Herman Manyora. Herman, you correct me if you may, but on March 21st, 2021, there is word that in one of your videos, you urged President Uhuru Kenyatta to suspend the upcoming 2022 vote because the country was not in a position to hold a major election unless drastic changes are made before the due date. I quote, "Today I engage you and try to show you that we ought, and in fact we must, and we should postpone the 2022 elections. This is a serious thing to do." Do you still stand by that?
After receiving a lot of beatings, I came up with another one. So I don't know why you didn't get that one.
Let's talk about this one and then we...
And I've been quoted in many other places. Really what I was saying was, when I open my eyes and look, I don't see a country ready for elections. I don't see what you should be seeing if we are going for elections. That's what I was saying. And I was saying it is quite possible that you could postpone elections. Because people did not understand it well, I came up with another one to explain. I was calling the country to a national conversation. To look at this election and ask themselves, are they really going to have an election? Therefore, I also joined Professor in saying those who are like a troll, they are not mad people. They are just people with an opinion, you know. So I must defend because we were on the same show. This guy, he's not mad. And even those who are saying elections must be held, they could be saying that because maybe they're also mad a bit, like he has said. So we are all mad. The idea is this: I don't say elections must be postponed, but what do I see? I don't see a country ready for elections. So I therefore see two possibilities. Either these elections will not be held at all, at least not on the 9th of August next year. Or, which seems to be the likely case, the elections will be held on the 9th of August, but there will not be elections. Itakuwa bora uchaguzi. Sio uchaguzi bora. You see, let me tell you this, and I've said it many times in my video and some TV appearance, and I've written about it. There are people who are in a hurry to take power. My friend, I'm very disappointed. You know, this is what happened in 1992. Everybody thought Moi was gone. He looked so vanquished. I think Wajakoya was there. You people were still
I was there.
too young. This guy was there, young but was there. You know why Moi won in 1992? There were a number of factors. The main factor was he looked vanquished. He looked finished. Like if you are playing and you are not a scorer, you are a feeder. But you see the goal is empty. Maybe the goalkeeper slide akaanguka chini hapa kiwanja imetereza. The temptation not to give somebody is very high. You want to score, then you shoot in the skies. That's what they did. And this is what looks like the case this time. People think that it's theirs for the taking.
Who are these people? Let's be just clear.
Our friend, you have just said. They think it is just there for the taking. So they want it yesterday. They don't want it 2022. Wanataka jana ifanyike uchaguzi. My friend, they could be disappointed because, and I'm warning them because I'm a good person. I'm telling them, you are creating a situation that you will regret because you are pushing people into elections. These guys are not ready and they know it. When things begin to unfold, you'll wish the elections were postponed. Okay. It'll be too late.
All right. I'll come back to Sylvia, then I'll do another round. What would make us as a country not be ready for over 5 years? I mean, not over, each election comes after 5 years. 5 years, nini tuko tunafanya? What were we doing not to prepare better for this election that would make it be postponed, as they say there's a possibility, there could be a possibility?
I think what has brought the whole issue is definitely the pandemic. It's surprised everybody, all the nations in the world. And being a young democracy, we also had our own issues economically.
Yeah.
And that does not beat the fact that the country is always ready for elections, whatever happens. Even 2017, we were getting the IEBC kits, you know, a few months to the elections. The trainings were being done a few weeks to the elections. Right now, the IEBC is completely ready. So they're ready to hold the elections. I think what the professor is probably referring to is the individuals who are going for the elective positions. Are they ready? Because the coalitions are not solid yet. Some, you know, like in our case, ANC is just divorcing from the NASA, and so that has to end, and then now form the new coalition, the OKA, the One Kenya Alliance. We still have some political parties that are still lingering, not quite sure. Perhaps when you go back to history, round about this time, most political parties have a solid backing, knowing that I'm going to the elections with so-and-so. And I think that's probably what he's referring to. But in essence, the country is in an anxiety mode. There's a lot of upheaval. People are anxious. People are desperate for change to move on. The market climate is also up and down. The investors want to know, what are we doing? So we cannot actually think of postponing the elections based on the economy of Kenya, based on the COVID effects on the country. We have to settle down, get all the people vaccinated, get the economy back moving, restructure the debt, know that we are moving forward to this direction. It is important, it is paramount for the country. This anxiety goes on for much longer, and then you go back to tell the same middle-class lady who's struggling to feed the child because her job was terminated because the company closed up and went back to abroad, is something that's not going to go down very well. And of course, the crime rate. We've had the crime rates very low in the country right now because of the curfew. Should you lift the curfew right now, it's going to be pandemonium in the country. And in all senses, the elections should actually take place so that we can settle back as a country and move on with whoever candidate we will have.
Right.
Yeah.
Alende, bora uchaguzi, uchaguzi bora. I mean, this is what Haman says. You among the people who are saying we have to. There's only a mad person who will think of postponing the election.
You know, our social contract with the current leadership, it automatically ends after every 5 years. So the current leadership and the way we, the people, as it's stipulated in our constitution, is that on second week of August 2022, we have to renew that contract.
But Haman says we are not ready as a country. He doesn't think we are ready.
You see, Haman understand why he's making that statement, because according to him, but as Kenyans, we have stated it and we have put it in writing in our constitution that after every 5 years, we have to renew our social contract with our leaders. So where he's getting his information of us not being prepared, because with the way Chebukati, the chair of IEBC, today, and his statement that IEBC is ready to conduct the next election.
But there was a disclaimer, unless.
A disclaimer is in the sense that in the same laws that we gave ourselves in the constitution, we said if there is war, if the country is in war, we may postpone the election. But if everything is okay, we must have those election. Because one thing we must understand, and again, what the good professor is also talking about, is talking about the 90s when Moi was ruling. Moi was ruling without this constitution. Moi was ruling, his ruling was in those era. The current era, we have a term limit. President Uhuru is going home after his 2 terms. So we must elect a new president. We must elect new leaders. Yes. So in that state that Prof is talking about, and I'm good I was not during those times, because those times were hard. We were having a president who was a dictator. So at this time, we are having a constitution, And we are a country which obeys the law. We are a country which respects the rule of law. So we must follow the law.
All right. Professor Wajakoya.
I do agree in totality with my friend Herman. Maybe it's because we are of some age. Wisdom is something very important. Wisdom and history.
Yeah.
And if you don't learn from history, then you write your own history. And then you lead other people to read your history. History is a paramount and fundamental factor for us to learn from where we've been and where we're going. If you go by the thorax, you want to force yourself, like what the Americans did in Afghanistan, because we are the superpowers, we have the muscles, we shall just go there and destroy Afghanistan or Somalia. Things have to. Let us think intelligently. Let us walk the path intelligently. Kenya is going nowhere, as our days are going. Yes. Sooner or later we shall be history. But at the same time, what can you be remembered for? Why do we have to read about Navongo Mumia? What do we remember Navongo Mumia for? If we talk of calculations and in terms of labeling people so and so, this and that, that is okay, that's individual. But holistically speaking, as my sister said about COVID, look at what happened in Burundi. Look at what happened in Tanzania. Going into a fire and a frying pan and then losing your life because you want elections to happen. What if the Tanzanians had postponed their election and contained COVID? How many people died during that election, including ministers and even the president? What happened in Burundi? That was after election, right? So the world is changing, the environment is changing, the World Health Organization with the pandemic is there, and also with other factors. Let us do it slow, but in a better way. I'm a presidential candidate. I'm not in a hurry. If Kenyans decide, it's fine. But I cannot come and say, let's go for election, we want it, unless something is wrong somewhere that we do not know. I rest my case there.
Right. Let's move the conversation forward. I mean, when we started the conversation, I hinted, Professor Hammond, that you were at a function by...
Before we go there,
yeah.
Because I'm a teacher, you know,
Yeah.
I have to teach a bit. Wherever I am, we teach all the time.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, just by the way, more than 100 and something countries, you can Google when you live here, countries that have postponed elections and different types of elections, municipality election, party election, national elections. There's a list given by some, Google you find, there are many. So if Kenya were to postpone the election, it wouldn't be the first. And in fact, the African court has said that you could because of pandemic, but that's not the point. In 2016, because I must say this, there was the Machozi Monday, was it Thursday or Monday, where CORD was pushing for the dissolution of IBC, Isaac Hassan IBC. They succeeded, like the good lady has said, from ANC party from my place. They reconstituted another IBC, really, against the advice of Kriegler. It was so close to the election. It was really bad. But what I want to talk about is there was a select committee led, co-chaired by Orengo and Kiraitu Murungi. That parliament. I remember my friend Boni Khalwale was a member and many others. I appeared before that committee. Everybody there was my friend apart from one or two people. We used to appear with them on TV show every day. They didn't even want me to speak because when I went there, I told them, unlike everybody who has come here, because I was listening to other people presenting, I have come to tell you not to chase away this IBC. They told me no, the terms of reference are clear. If you are not talking about postponing, go away. It's Jim Ngangwenyu who was sitting in for Kiraitu Murungi, who saved me. And Orengo also supported him. So I gave my presentation. In short, I was telling them why they stood to gain by reforming the then Isaac IBC. And in the following Tuesday, on our show we used to have with Boni Khalwale, I tried to tell him, your committee is wrong and you'll come to. Three things make an election. First of all, the regime. What laws are in place? If you follow the proceedings during the Supreme Court, Raila too, there were issues with the laws. I have not seen much that has been done about the laws. The next thing about elections is the technology. And we all agree we had issues. Failed biometrics, what have you, and all manner of things, and transmission, and etc., etc. And remember the many telephone gadgets we bought, which we never used, you know, and failed network and all those kind of things. How have we addressed technology? Up to now, we have not. IBC is making procurement. The people who are rushing into an election don't know what kind of technology, they don't know, they have no idea what IBC is doing in terms of procurement, and they are rushing into an election. They will be hit so badly. And the third, an election is a voter register. You saw what happened in the Supreme Court. What voter register do you have? What confidence do you have that with this voter register, you can have a good election? Yeah. And I told Boni Khalwale, I hope he could be listening to this, on the show. And he gave me the Nigerian example, where the Nigerians had audited the register and they found, like, according to him, 20 million ghost voters. They cleaned it, and that's why Buhari won. I told him, my friend, that's Nigeria. I'm talking about Kenya. My presentation to them had been, let us have a fresh voter register.
From scratch.
So if UDA were serious about 2022, they will be listening to me today on those three aspects: the law, the technology, and the register. Yeah. If you do nothing about the register today, don't complain in 2022.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be about UDA. It should be about this government organ or institution that is supposed to run a free, fair, and verifiable election that has time over 5 years to prepare. Was it, or is it, a deliberate move not to fix those things, yet they were supposed to be fixed? Who was even supposed to fix them?
See, the owners of these things, these things have owners.
The system.
Why do you think the president didn't declare those 4 positions vacant? You think he's a fool? This is part of the game. I mean, I speak for everybody in this country, because I mean well for this country. Why do you think it took so long? But I would have wished, as you come in and you may be allowed, I would have wished, instead of making the noise and the things I'm hearing around, people had begun from as early as 2018. When Ruto, for example, saw the way things were going, Raila and the whole, he would have pushed for the constitution of the IBC as soon as there was a problem in 2018, 2019. Yeah. Because this is where we are going to have problems. So IBC is not quite ready, in my view.
Prof, I'll come to you and Sylvia, 100% Sylvia. Legally speaking, really, where have we gone wrong? What has not happened? Because if these are the key red flags that we've seen over the past elections, do you feel there's been a deliberate move not to fix them?
Not deliberate move.
Yeah.
Those who have been in power have been involved in stealing, and they forgot about reforms. And I'm sure some idiots, I'll call them idiots, when they hear me speak like this, they can even go to hell. There have been a lot of making people's taxpayers, stealing from the dams, stealing from Kenya Power, stealing everywhere. And that's why most of these artists you see in the studios are paid to speak for corruption. It is that corruption that people don't want to point at. It's my brother who's been pointing at these things from time to time. And I'm sure you have been pointing at them, and people never used to even to take you seriously. Correct. And now you get these people have come up with some wealth that they can't account for, now blaming President Uhuru Kenyatta on everything. It's Uhuru and Ruto have been like this. Why do they come in and only now blame Uhuru and leave to blame Ruto? Why are they not talking of corruption that has been so endemic? Why have we kept ourselves so busy chasing each other? When the president and his men tried to bring out corruption by saying, we have to take people to court to account, Kinoti tried to arrest people, it was a tribal thing. When it came to parastatals, some people had to be given those posts who are not befitting the posts. Corruption. And those who want to rush for election today, they want to cover up their past for what they have done in this country. That's what has prompted me to run for election. Whether I will get 3 votes or not, corruption has to end. We are looking at people coming up with some very stupid formulas of saying ABCD. Why can't they talk, or why aren't they talking about corruption? Why can't they point fingers at what has happened? Why haven't you had some of these people point out to those ministers who have been stealing and not issuing public statements about the theft in their ministries? What about members of the parastatal bodies? Are we holier than thou here, coming here to pretend, coming here to tell the whole world that now it's very nice, all thieves have come in the country, some of them being deported? Oh, no. Let us face this calamity, corruption and COVID. If elections can be postponed for some of these people to be taken to court, to tell the country where they got all this wealth from, yet we know their salaries. This country is going to be in fire, is going to burn, and I'm running. If Kenyans are looking at me and I'm not campaigning for myself, let them vote for people like us who are outsiders to shape the thinking of this country rather than introducing and creating some of the mindsets that we have seen around the country. Thank you.
Right.
The good Professor Herman Manyora has talked about postponing the election. How sure are we if we postpone the election, we will be safer than not having election? We are not sure. The issue here is this. After 2017, everybody knew that the next election was in 2022. IBC has been preparing for all that time. IBC is ready. The reasons why he is talking about postponing election is about the preparedness. IBC has come out and said that they are ready. We have done the by-election in Msambweni, there was by-election in Juja, there was by-election in Kiamba, there was by-election in his backyard back in Matungu and Kabuchai. Those elections were conducted in a free and fair manner. The elephant in the room is about people accepting results. That is the issue. Yeah. We must have a health competition in the sense that at the end of the day, those who have competed in that election must accept the result, right. The winner and the loser. Yeah. One thing that we must remind ourselves, after 2017 election, the issue was that NASA side did not accept the results. Specifically, Raila Amolo Odinga did not accept the result. He went to court, the results were nullified. We went for a repeat election. He did not participate. He ended up forcing for a handshake. After handshake, the main reason for us going to a handshake was about 2017 election. Today, we have been told about nobody can stop reggae. Has that reggae addressed the issue that Herman Manyora is raising? You see,
I want to go back to what Herman says. The key pillars of having a credible, verifiable, and credible election. Yeah. That even prompted those who did not accept the results to say we are not accepting these results. Have those things been fixed? What if the goalposts change and 2022 it is your party leader refusing to accept the results because we have not fixed what those who refused the results before, what caused them to refuse? We've not fixed those things. What if now it is Deputy President William Ruto, 2022, and his teams and yourselves not accepting the results because of not fixing these things that Herman said?
See, in Kiswahili we say, asiyekubali kushinda si mshindani. In short, the main issue is that people or certain people have deliberately refused to accept the result. If you are defeated free and fair, you must accept the result. Because why we go round and round and round around this issue of election is that the perennial loser has deliberately refused to accept the results. And he always used that ethnic tag to weaponize his backyard against the person who has won. That is the main reason. And how I wish the pro-BBI people could have used that opportunity to address these issues that they normally talk about in an election period. If you look at the BBI document, what they are saying is simple. They are saying that the loser in every election must be adopted in the government. So we are going to be having the same scenario that we have now. If you vie and if you contest in an election and you become the runners-up, you are absorbing the government. That's what they're talking about in BBI.
I know we'll have a special session for BBI.
At the end of the day, at the end of the day, even if you look in advanced democracy, after a highly competitive election, if you lose, you must accept the results. If we sort out that issue At the end of the day, they will not have this issue about talking about postponing the election.
Right. I want us to move the conversation forward. If you feel you want to go back onto a certain topic that we started on, feel free to seek for permission from the speaker here. Honorable Sylvia, your party leader has been making a lot of inroads. There's been a lot of talk of how, he's really pushing himself to be very visible. We've seen him in central Kenya. We've seen him move around. There is actually, this Friday, there will be a forum with key stakeholders in the financial sector, including business reporters, to discuss his plan for the economy. As we speak about the formations for 2022, the winning formula, what would you tell us that you feel your party leader is actually doing right, and this is for him to take in 2022?
Yes, thank you for that. The winning formula, first of all, is the economy. We have to move from where we are. We are in trillions of debt. We have the COVID pandemic right on our backs. The economy is not only affecting Mama Mboga, it's affecting the Jua Kali sector, it's affected the middle class, it's affecting the rich, because they too, if you have an organization that you cannot sustain, you have to shut it down. So the most important thing right now is to, first of all, fix the economy. And how do you fix the economy? That is why it will be imperative that the elections are held in the timely manner as stated by the Constitution on the 9th of August. We have to do mass vaccination. We are talking about 1 million vaccines in the country, meaning that only 500,000 people have been vaccinated since the pandemic started. So you can imagine where we are. We are not even anywhere near moving forward from this COVID pandemic. That needs to be taken care of. The second step is, how do we get the economy back moving? We need to address the farmers' issue. There's a coffee farmer in Nyamira County getting bonus for 9 shillings. Then you have another coffee farmer in Limuru getting 35 shillings bonus. That's not equal on the plate. That needs to be addressed. We have industries that have totally collapsed. The industries that educated me have collapsed. And I can name a few. Mumia's sugar industry. If I go specifically to the industry of sugar, if we can have a proper plan to revive the entire sugar industry, why should we have the people in the present government working as cartels to stop the manufacturing of sugar in the country? Instead, we're importing sugar. That is a step that needs to be fixed economically, get people back to work. We could get over 500,000 people into work just by reviving our sugar industries. We also have even cashew nuts in the factory in Kilifi. We have pan pepper that is a storage space right now. The whole town died down. Then we need to address the healthcare. Yes, the president has done quite a lot with building a lot of level 2 and level 3 hospitals within Nairobi and outside of Nairobi. That's a good added plus, but our healthcare is still in dire straits. People are dying of coronavirus because there's no oxygen. We can manufacture these things at home. We can have a research institute that will take care of our medical issues. We have bright brains that are working abroad and in this country that need to just have the correct space to work from. We need to curb corruption or stop it, and my brother there said it right. Corruption is what has finished the government. And unfortunately, a lot of politicians are running up and down, sweating in their suits, hoping to get into government to make their own share. That is the kind of people we have out there. So my only fear is, who are we preparing for office in 2022? We need legitimate leaders in this nation. Kenyans have become much more in tune with what is happening around them. You can no longer fool them. And of course, with the social media now, people can read here and there what is going on in the back rooms.
Right. You mentioned economy,
Yes.
and those of the contrary opinion, and with a different argument, they would ask, what is the clear-cut difference between what you just said, as far as models are concerned, with the bottom-up model that Halende and crew, together with Deputy President William Ruto, are pushing for?
First of all, I have to go back to my own studies, that this bottom-up pyramid thing does not exist in the economy status like that. I wrote a paper on the pyramid, and the bottom layer of the pyramid is for people that cannot afford to buy goods from multinational organizations. So it's actually a reference for multinational organizations to be able to invest in developing nations so that they can provide social fabric, social enterprise fabric, as they manufacture goods that can be affordable for the bottom in the pyramid. So in the economic sense of a country and a government, that does not exist. There's only two governments. You're either a state-owned, like we all do, or, no, not state-owned, how should I say it? Like China, which is communism, or liberal economy, which is ours. So what we have right now is what is working for the nation. The bottom up does not exist. And you cannot tell people that I'll come and suddenly I'll just find money from a vacuum somewhere and give you in the pocket, and then you'll be all right. It doesn't work like that. First, you must create the jobs, which Musalia Mudavadi has a good economic plan for, is to create jobs. All these things I'm talking about, which is the farmer sector, the healthcare sector, the ICT sector, all these things will bring the economy back into play.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Professor Herman Manyora, you have actually educated the former Prime Minister and the rest who are wanting to compete with Deputy President William Ruto, and you've urged them not to, criticize what he is doing. Rather, they should actually be creating what they want to do. They should be talking about their projects, not working on criticizing what he's doing. If every day you're just, William Ruto has talked about bottom up will not work. William Ruto is talking about, this and that. Tell me a bit about why you think, as far as the formula is concerned, whoever is winning or getting it right, or whoever is not getting it right. You've already mentioned who's not getting it right from that perspective. How is Deputy President William Ruto getting it right? Musalia Mudavadi and the other players.
Yeah, I will tell you that, but in half a second I will tell my friend, I agree with him, losers must accept. But they must accept a free and fair election.
Yes.
Our elections from 2007 have been anything but free and fair. That is borne out by even the Supreme Court. Surely. If you respect our courts, they say that election was not free and fair. In the 2007, everybody agreed really there was something wrong. Even Judge Kriegler, even Kibuyi to the everyone said they didn't know who won. So surely let people accept. But I'm also happy because it might be the turn of your man to contest, because everyone has contested this election from 1992. Apart from 2002, everybody has contested. Everybody has said they were not fair.
You see a scenario where
can't all be wrong.
William Ruto will say these elections were...
Oh, yes.
They can't all be wrong. From first it was Matiba in 1992 and Kibaki. 97 it was Raila who joined Kibaki, and I don't know who else. They were all complaining. So, free, fair election, shake the hand of the winner, go back home to your husband or to your wife. That's what we all want. Now, what I've been saying is this. Ruto is a clever man. He's too smart for these guys. They don't like him when I tell them that. Because they have been turned into people who are reacting. Mudavadi, Raila, they are reacting. When Ruto comes up with a nonsensical thing like bottom up, there's nothing like that. That's just a joke. There's nothing like bottom up. They They are already jumping up and talking about economy. Your man is talking about the economy. Is you what? Raila is talking about rural urbanization or industry. I told Raila that's textbook. Isn't any textbook in economics will tell you that. And the World Bank will tell you we are all moving towards urbanization and so on and so forth. And soon most villages will be urbanized. So Raila is reading from a book. But you see, Ruto is scoring because he's setting the agenda. And in politics, if you are forced to be reacting to what your opponent is saying, you know you are doing very badly. So Raila is doing very badly. And they are doing very bad because they are reacting to what Ruto. And people didn't even understand that video. A friend of mine called me for 2 hours from London. Then I told him, I've listened to you. How come someone like you didn't understand? I didn't say bottoms up is good. I didn't even say the hustler thing is good. But I'm saying they are reacting to it. Ruto is setting the agenda. So for Raila, you ask him where he's getting it wrong. And Mudavadi, they must play politics. Nobody ever wins an election because of an agenda or because of a program or you did so well. How many MPs lose in re-elections when they have done wonders? When they are even ranked the highest. You had people like Hamisi from whatever. The man who brought CDF, engineer, was it Karue or somebody? He was kicked out. You never win an election because you have done well. Do well. Tender well manenda zako. Do well for your people. They will remember you later. Yeah. But that's not what will take you to politics.
What's the formula?
It is politics. So Raila must play politics. And I gave an example. I say in 2017, Raila had it all wrapped up. Theft. That was the rallying point. It was setting the country mad. Everybody was drunk on that theft.
In government.
You know what these guys had done between 2013 and 2017? That's what you can now call madness. Unprecedented theft and the plunder of the economy. Borrowing that nobody can even understand for a small economy like ours. So theft. You know, the Eurobond things and many of those things. Do you know what happened? David Ndi, whom you now have, turned Raila down from that and took him to react to the Jubilee development agenda by way of our manifesto. The day they went to launch the manifesto, I knew they were gone. It's in fact a testimony of Raila's really popularity that he was able to get the votes. But he had lost it. In other words, Raila should not, number one, react to what Ruto is. In fact, they should ignore what he does. In fact, calling him a thief. I told him that's what will kill you, finish you. Don't call Ruto a thief, because Kenya is a country of thieves. So what are you telling Kenya? They don't even care what you are saying. We will fight, you get power. Once you get power, fight theft and tell people, this is what I wanted, this is why I wanted to be president.
Yeah.
But number two, other than reacting to Ruto, play politics. Don't come and tell us what you'll do for people. They don't even care. Write some beautiful document for donors and for intelligent people like you and I, but put it somewhere. Give your competitor here a copy to read as he gives you his. But now, when you go on the podium, play politics. And that's where they are getting it wrong.
You see, you're seated right next to a presidential hopeful.
Yes.
You've analyzed what former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is doing wrong, and Simon David is doing wrong, William Ruto, what he's doing right. What is presidential candidate Professor George Wajakoya doing wrong?
He's joining his colleagues. He's campaigning on a moral platform, which is good, which is what we need.
Yeah.
And by the way, these are good people. This is a good man I know. He's my friend.
Yeah.
I was today having lunch. I was the only lawyer on that table. Because me, when I'm at the university, I don't sit in a tribal way. Yeah. But we were two lawyers. And they were talking about Mudavadi. They said, I was asking them questions. And they were saying, when they move around, the name that is floating on the mountain, people move around, they talk about Ruto, they're excited, they hate Raila, they hate Uhuru. But sober people point to Mudavadi. So here is a man, if he played politics, he can get votes, but he's not playing politics. He's talking to people about economy. When you go to fishermen, when you go and talk to fishermen, don't tell them about how you do. Just tell them politics.
But Prof, back to my question. Are you aware that Professor Ojakoya is running?
Yeah, I'm aware. How would I not?
But
How would I
let's
not be
analyze
aware?
him now.
Why would I not be aware?
What is he-
I'm about to join his party.
Prof, I think he's being diplomatic. He doesn't want to...
No, I was going to Kalonzo Musyoka's, like you mentioned.
yes.
I had a speech.
Yes.
My speech is always in the head. God gifted me with a very good memory. I can memorize a whole speech. So, really, it's not a speech written. It's just the things I was going to talk about. There is a middle ground, which if anybody occupied in this country, even if they don't win in 2022, but that's where the country will be. It is what will divide the conservatives, the thieves, the old politicians, and the new way of looking at things. I've told Kinaruto and Raila, don't lie to us. You don't mean well for this country. If you mean well for this country, if you are Mudavadi and you are Ruto and you are Raila, tell me what you'll do. You are talking about employment. Tell me what you'll do about this dumping in this country. Do you have what it takes to face America and tell them no to second-hand clothes? Rwanda has said it. Wamekufa, Kagame died. Is it called Kagame?
Kagame.
Has he died because he has told off Americans? No second-hand. Apart from killing our industries, it also degrades an African. You go to Gikomba, people are, those things they are safe, including underwear. Do you have that courage if you are Mudavadi to face Americans? Do you have the courage to tell off Chinese for flooding our markets with things they can't even sell in their own country that have killed all our industries? These guys are lying to us. If you cannot have Bottomup, for example, my friend, you are Bottomup, I will not speak again. One more minute, then me, I just keep quiet. I will be referring with you.
Yeah.
Bottomup, unless you stop theft, like my friend here is saying, where will you get the money to give people? But I also agree with her. How will you throw money at people? Throwing money at a problem never solves the problem. I rest my case. And now I'll keep quiet for a while.
Your formula. I mean, let's talk about that.
I've been involved in 2 presidential elections very successfully. The second term of Jonathan Goodluck in Nigeria, I was part of the team as an outsider, and there is evidence to that effect. I've also been involved in presidential elections in Ghana, advising Atta Mills, the late Atta Mills. I've also run for election in Tottenham as a member of parliament after Barney Grant died. I lost at primary because one of the cardinal principles there was morality. And my friend David Lamy, of Jamaican origin, who had just come from Oxford, though we were classmates in SOAS, happened to have been married, and he had kids. And during the primary selection, they say, well, we are better off with David Lamy, who at least has got a family, than what have you. So it happened that way. Now, this is my formula. Roots Party is the only party which doesn't have this nonsense of writing policies. What we have decided to do is very simple. We have started from the grassroots. For example, if somebody wants to be an MCA in a ward, let the person first of all register as a member of the Roots Party. And I will come to what you had asked before. After registration, let him go back to the same ward and register 150 people. Then after that registration, let him go back again to that ward and organize himself. Organize his infrastructure, organize his own team. He can open up an office, and that's it. But if somebody else also comes in to compete in the same ward, it's the same formula. The same formula that we use. If that triggers primaries, then it is the person with more members that will win. The elections will be from the basement. And as our friend here has talked about theft, what he forgot to say was theft of people who are genuine, who wanted to run for election, but somebody somewhere took money from another person and left the genuine people who wanted to stand for elective post. Now, if the primaries are done in a ward level, and one person wins over the other, the runners-up becomes the chairman of CDF, if possible. And that's an agreement we have. Now, what about policy? Why don't we have a written policy?
Yeah.
Why would you be writing a policy for somebody from West Pokot, which is my stronghold? Let the person who has been elected as MCA go to the county assembly and table issues affecting his electorate in the ward level. He's the only person who knows the burden in that ward. And if he tables that and asks for appropriation of funds from the county government, then that money will be accounted for by the person who could. This could sound as bizarre or as academia, but this is the formula that we have in Roots Party. Why are we going that route? We are going that route, number one, to weed out who comes first with money, Mr. Moneybags. Number two, we are also weeding out unnecessary competition. Number three, the chairman of the ward committee is the one who will find out, especially the sub-county. The chairman of the sub-county with his team are the ones who will do the nomination list of whoever will be nominated should we reach the threshold. By such nomination, it weeds out also this issue of concubines from above, where elected leaders now will come and sit down and say, okay, I've now been elected, my name is Herman Manyara, I am actually the governor of Vihiga County. And in this case, I now want to look at how many concubines I have, how many concubines I have to nominate them in the county assembly, whose work will be by acclamation. Nobody wants to listen to my nonsense. But you go to where I have been, where I've got my strongholds right now, some people are panding, but I'm not going to do that. And secondly, why would you be writing a policy from above? The World Bank has said this, multinational corporations have said this, transnational corporations have said this, conditions are this and that. We have to, come on, let us manage our economy from the below, from the people themselves.
From the bottom.
It's not from the bottom, because I don't want to show you my bottom. I don't, as he correctly said, I mean, I think it was a joke as he said, but don't tell people about bottoms, because every human being has got a bottom anyway, unless you want us to be insane. But the thing is, you give the economic infrastructure within the people, and by that you'll be mapping up health issues within that area.
Right.
You'll know exactly what's going on. You will not need now to be running away with money bags of Harambe, going to the churches, stealing money and not accounting for it. And KRA, if I become the president, I'll disband the entire KRA because they are not doing their job properly. If you were in the United States or Britain and you went and gave 30 million to a church without accountability, you are as good as a robber, a bank robber, robbing from your own people. In this country, when people see money, like for example in Roots Party, and thank Mudavadi who has recognized me. I thank him because he's one of the few leaders who have come out and said, Professor, you have done this, please come, let us work as a team. And there's nothing wrong with working with somebody, not because we are going to share the presidency, but this is mature politics where a leader of another political party can accept to work with another leader of a political party by recognizing some of us, apart from my friend here who has recognized me. We are still living in the gutters. People are born and they're stagnated in the same place. They have not opened up. They have not been outside the country. They have not even read enough, like my brother here and my sister who has actually been out there to see how difficult things go. But here you get some person and it's not their mistake. You are born, your work is to follow, your work is to read other people's history. That's what Professor Wajakoya refused. Imagine having been a street boy. If we had a system like the one we have in Roots Party, it will give you that sense of belonging, sense of ownership. The people who belong to Roots Party today, trust me, they are so happy because at least for the first time, they are feeling ownership, like the members of the Labour Party in the UK, like the member of the Conservative Party in the UK, and by so doing, we are trying to create a new blueprint. 50 years after my death, these things could become okay. But right now, people are looking at how much money does one have, but they are not looking at the grave. And may you allow me to stand to demonstrate something here?
Yeah, I mean, this, white shot, yes.
Yeah, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Roots Party is thinking from here, going here.
Yeah.
We are thinking from the brain. But some people are thinking from here, going down. What will come in to enlarge their stomach? What will come in to look at things in economic fashion? For example, if I got a boy, a young man, and gave him money and said, start singing Roots Party, and then I would send him to places to represent Roots Party, without actually indoctrinizing this person to know exactly what Roots Party is, it becomes a mediocre, a broker, an idiot. What kind of sensibility is he going to tell people other than the money he has been given to go and speak for himself? But in Roots Party, think from here going this side. What am I going to do in future for my children? What is it that I've done wrong to be where I am every 5 years, seeing the same leaders recycling themselves into new leaves? As he correctly said, for how long have these people been standing for elections? Is it because they're going to be there every year, when they grow old, their children take over and nominate their children in the East African Assembly? Come on, we need new regeneration, and Kenya is ready. Thank you.
Kenya is ready. Prof, as you sit down, so you feel, because it was your own words, you said, even if you got 3 votes, but you want to see a Kenya that has changed.
Yes, sir.
What are your hopes? I mean,
my hopes are, and it's not only my hopes, because I'm no longer alone. When I started the party, I was a madman for a very long time, as my brother might have said. But you know, sometimes psychic analysis of what we call the psychic analysis, as was done by the Greeks, is that sometimes people look at you as an insane person if they don't understand you. People label you without understanding you. People look at you from the face value, but they do not know what's inside you. Especially if you look at the people who might have been with you, and it happens as if God is good. I've been with him many times on the podium, and at least now we understand each other because he speaks, I speak, we listen to each other, and then we gauge each other. People will say, what kind of person is this? Who is he? They look at you from chest bottom. If you don't have what they have, you are a loser. And that's why our country is where it is today, because of that kind of mediocrity. And I don't mix my words. It's the young generation today. It's also the people who have gone to school, universities, that are destroying the economy of this country. Instead of being servants, instead of serving the nation, what they do is, how much money can I accumulate through entrepreneurship? If I am elected or appointed chairman of a parastatal body, without any other authenticity as to the framework of moral obligations that I've had, then I will start thinking from here. Tomorrow you'll see my stomach is almost bursting. And as if that's not enough, the environment that we live in must change, and somebody must change this country, and I'm ready to change this country. Thank you.
Asante. Halende, I mean, we've seen a lot of, repositioning. Like today, we spoke about what has been started off by former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka and Wiper leader. But we've also seen the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to be, flat out to woo Kalonzo to his camp as 2022 nears. But Kalonzo has previously said, and he's been very categorical, he said he would be a mad person to support former Prime Minister Raila Odinga again in 2022. The question would be, why do you think Raila Odinga is keen on, uniting with Kalonzo Musyoka for 2022?
The answer to that question is simply that 2022 is a race between Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga and William Ruto Samoei. And for specific reason.
She feels like you're just writing off a candidate, just like that. You're writing off Prof.
The rest, it's going to be a two-horse race. 2022 is a two-horse race.
so good.
The rest of the guys, either one of them will be a third force, or they will form that or core coalition, which will be a third force. But at the end of the day, the race will be between two people. So why is it that Raila is so keen to lure Mudavadi and Kalonzo back? You go back and ask yourself, why did NASA collapse, or why did Raila allow NASA to die? It's simple. You ask yourself, who benefits? It's Raila, because within the NASA agreement, Raila is supposed to endorse Kalonzo in 2022. So if NASA dies and they go the next door, they form another coalition, Raila is not under obligation to honor the NASA agreement. So Raila will form another coalition. Raila will invite Kalonzo back. Raila definitely is going to invite Honorable Musalia Mudavadi back, but it's up to them to agree. But the basic thing that Kenyans are hoping and Kenyans want is that even if we are forming coalition, let us form coalition with a plan. Let us form coalition with an agenda to help and sort out the issue that Kenyans are facing. If it's corruption, let us gauge these leaders on issues to do with corruption. Somebody who can outrightly point out this is corruption, how is he going to fight corruption, and how he needs the help of Kenyan society to fight corruption. If it's the issue to do with the economy, the Deputy President William Samoei Ruto has outrightly stated that the best way to sort out the economy of this country is to look at the model, the economic model that we have. And I'm so sad that we are seated in a panel where people are trivializing the issue to do with bottom-up economics model. If we look at International Labour Office report of 1972, it was talking about the Juakali sector, that today the government of Kenya has criminalized. The informal sector that we have criminalized. The border borders, the hawkers. These are people these are an enterprise that have been criminalized in this country. If you decriminalize those enterprises and give them accessibility to capital, these are people who can empower themselves. These are businesses that will employ people. Bottom-up is not about bottoms-up. Bottom-up economic model is a model that tries to address the issue of the people at the low of the pyramid. My sister is talking about that in his economic class, he never talked about the issue to do with the pyramid. If you look at the class stratification, it talks about the pyramid. Those who can access power and are empowered, they are at the top of the pyramid. Those who are at the bottom of the pyramid don't have access to power and don't have empowerment. And those are the people we need to empower so that you expand your tax bracket, you elevate them, and in fact, when you empower the people at the bottom, you know, how do you gauge an economy? You gauge an economy with the speed in which money moves within an economy. In an economy where money moves slowly, the economy will shrink. But in an economy where money moves fast, the economy will expand. If you empower people at the bottom, in fact, you have made them to be ready customers. You know, in economy they say, if you give somebody money who is in need of that money, he will quickly spend it. And that's how money will move in an economy. The people who are talking about these other issues that Professor Manyora is addressing and trying to trivialize the thing to do it bottom up, they're the people who have benefited from this trickle-down economy, where the wealthier in the society are given chance to invest so that it trickles down to the other people. How does it doesn't trickle down? These are the people who have, through state capture, they have captured, they are the entrepreneurs. Through state capture, they have managed to maneuver within parliament buildings to change the laws to suit to their businesses.
And
these are the people.
This new model is what will sort.
Yes.
All right. Let me hear from Honorable Sylvia. I mean, you might want to counter or react to what he has said, but while sticking to the formations, Musalia Mudavadi has outrightly said it will be hard to work with Raila, but don't rule it out. What should we read there? I mean, could there be a possibility of still working with former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, or we are going to see a scenario where, you know what, Yandwele Sipite, we're not going to work together, it is done?
No.
When you discuss in the corridors.
That's when you know a leader and a ruler, the difference between a leader and a ruler. Musalia Mudavadi is a leader. The fact that, you know, there's water under the bridge. He was the principal choreographer behind NASA. We all know that. And of course, NASA has now fallen apart. And he has moved on and choreographed another alliance, this time round on his terms. So His Excellency Raila Odinga, whom I respect as a leader that has fought well for this country in his prime time, and I can only applaud him for what he did. But in my opinion, it's time for Mzee to retire and go home. Be a kingsman, be a peacemaker, be the elder that we need in the country, because that's what he can do. And if His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi says that he'll extend his hand, is to say, well, you know, perhaps things are not so good in your house, but we can never leave you out in the cold. You are always welcome, but on our terms. That will be on our terms.
Right. I mean,
My
that's very
brother-
categorical, right?
My
Very
brother,
categorical.
yes,
On his terms.
Yes,
Yeah.
my brother says here very clearly that His Excellency Deputy William Ruto, Deputy President William Ruto, is going to work with the so bottom-up you're talking about, even though we all know that it does not exist, but you have made it so important for you that it's in existence. But all the academicians will tell you that it doesn't exist. But it can, be spread out there to the vulnerable. And it's actually hurting to know that, you can create something to use it to manifest into the poor minds of the people so that they can, get you on their wagon. First of all, His Excellency William Ruto has had a chance for 8 years now to make a difference in the government. And we don't care about wrangles that have happened between him and the president, His Excellency the President. They've had a chance to work together. He's had a chance to work. And he promised this same youth, he's giving wheelbarrows, millions of jobs. Where are the jobs? He just brokered a deal with Equity to fund a business in Uganda. Are those jobs coming to Kenya or are they going to Uganda? We want to know who has the best interest for the Kenyans at heart. That's the person we are looking for to lead this country. Professor Manyora mentioned here that there's a gap in between the so-called the voting with opinions, or rather with the conscience, and then there's the voting of euphoria. That gap is the gap that His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi is filling. We can see how he's traversing and meeting the right people that can help move this country forward in a strategic manner. And that is the financial institutions which you need to work with very well in order to get our economy back on track. That is working with different communities of this country so that everybody can feel and know that they are part of this country regardless of what tribe you are. And also working with the youth, knowing that the youth are the leaders of this country right now, not leaders of tomorrow. They need to be on the table today.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're about to close.
Yeah.
And of course, looking at the current trends and events that have happened in the country, it would be very unfair if we just walked out of this set without touching on this particular issue. Professor Herman Manyora, where do you see things, or how do you see things unfolding? Will this going to be an egg on the face of the government or an egg on the face of the Deputy President, William Ruto? I'm talking about the investor that we've been hearing about, the Turkish investor, Harun. We've had the Deputy President today actually writing very categorically and calling it, it's a shame, whatever the government did in that. Who do you think is going to end up with an egg on their face?
I agree with the Deputy President, the shame, but I quickly move away from where he's allocating the shame and allocate it to him and his government. They are embarrassing us. Ruto and Uhuru are embarrassing us. They are showing bad manners to children, how not to run a country, You can't escape from it if you are Ruto. You see, as to really who you can, first of all, let me begin with the government. And if you wish, I can leave Ruto out of it. I blame people who advise Uhuru Kenyatta. I've said it many times. You see, before this one of the airport and then this Turkish man, there have been other things. Most of them targeting William Ruto. You end up giving him bonga points, as the young people say. You drive sympathy votes in his direction. The government should be categorical. Even the issue of judges, just be categorical. You don't have to say things that are classified, but be categorical. Say, okay, the deputy president has always flown out of this country without seeking permission. And it's because the working relation between him and I was good. I knew he was a gentleman. But along the way, he has become rogue. And for that reason, the trust I had in him is not where it was. And therefore, we must now go back to doing things the way they should be done officially and legally. So there can be no excuse that he used to travel without my permission, because he hasn't kept my permission when he was a good boy. The moment he became rogue, he must follow the law. This thing will die. That's for the president and his advisors, who in my way are failing terribly. Even the question of judges, tell us that which is not classified. You can say, for example, 1 or 2 judges, there is something going on. The Americans and us are investigating. We can't tell the public what we are doing because that will be to jeopardize the investigation. So we cannot appoint him as a judge. That thing will die off. Be categorical. Say this, leaving only that which you not share with the public. For Ruto, if you think you will always get sympathy, more often than not, it gets to a place where it doesn't work for you. After having heard the story of the Magayan, Sagashian, whatever,
yes.
They were called Romanian or what?
Brothers. They are two
Armenian brothers.
Yes.
And they ended up, they were not even brothers, Kumbe. I would be very, very reluctant if I was the deputy president to be that close to a figure like that in such a mysterious circumstances. Because you only need something small and you go down. And even that thing can even be manufactured. For the people to have kept quiet up to this level, it is possible there could be something. Supposing it turns out that man has some terrorist link. The country, Turkey, can cover him for whatever reason. Countries have their own strategic interests, and some countries go all out to protect their citizens, even when they are wrong. We have seen British soldiers here killing our people, and they are shipped out into UK or the United States. We know that. Yeah. We can say it in public. So, supposing neutral forces like Interpol and the rest fish out this guy, that will finish Ruto. So I think both sides are not playing smart. Yeah. As a deputy president, you must avoid things that look suspicious. In my view. Keep off things that look. There is Sudi. These small boys, let them take. If something happens, it is Sudi. It is Murukomen. It is these other fellows. Not you. You keep away in case something happens. Because what happens could even be manufactured. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Because some people destroy all their traces. But somebody can fish something from their past and say, you are the same guy who was tried in the year 2002. You have only changed your identity. We have you here. What will that do to Ruto? It will finish him. So I think our leaders, I keep telling them, you must know really, this country has just about 500 people who decide our destiny today and tomorrow for children that are born and those are yet to be born. Right. So you must behave responsibly if you are a member of parliament.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, I also would like to add a point on what he has said, and I agree with you today. I don't know why.
We always agree. We have never differed. You only differed on that one of Oparanya.
Yes. You know, call a spade a spade. I hate nobody. Let me put that caveat.
Yeah.
But Ruto's advisors need to go back to the drawing room. They have misadvised this man on a very serious note. That is number one. Number two, how do you, as a deputy president, leave the country without telling your boss? What about if your plane is blown up and then it causes a crisis, which will end up into an international crisis? Why do you want to tag yourself with the people of character? People of character. You move with the people of character. And I'm not going to speak about Sudi, because Sudi is my client. And I'm not privileged to even mention his name under the circumstances, because I represent him in court. Ruto has become now a nightmare, and he's causing this deliberately. First of all, he has got very wrong advisors because of the things he does. I personally, as I speak with you and as a political party leader, have had to stop mayhem in Mumias town, where I come from, whereby UDA cohorts who thrive on bribery and giving money to the youth to fend off and to fight themselves, to kill themselves, which has made Mumias a battlefront for the money that comes in without people knowing where that money has come from. I've had to intervene. I had to fly two boys who are very notorious. I had to fly them from Mumias to come for a talk with me here. They just left yesterday. And I told them, look, you are the ones who are going to be shot because of the things that are happening in Mumias. The deputy president should stop what he's doing with his money in areas to cause mayhem. The deputy president should be accommodative. If I was the deputy president or advising the deputy president, I would have asked him to keep quiet over this issue completely, so that the tide can. But instead, he shows his bitterness by coming up to compete. You are competing your president. This man is the head of state. You want to leave to go and see Museveni, and the agenda is not within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs rectification, because you are a government servant. And if you want to discuss something on national importance, national security, you must seek clearance from security agencies. It matters not whether you are a vice president, deputy president, minister of foreign affairs, what have you. You must sit down and follow the regulations. What if he becomes the president and his deputy did what he's doing now? Do you think he'll forgive that man? Ruto has lost color, and I've always told people, and I don't fear, and I will never live in fear. This is my country. Ruto should stop that mayhem. He should stop now provoking the national security agencies. It's alleged that that man was a criminal in Germany. That man was involved in terrorist activities. And if that is true, then you will see Ruto being banned everywhere. He might not only have been banned by the Kenyan government going there, but the international community is going to slap travel ban on him and his cohorts. And I'm serious on this point, and I rest my case.
Right. Let's turn the tides around, and then this man now has been found to be innocent, mistaken identity, not the person who ends up with an egg on the face.
As an immigration lawyer, this is now the wrong of the government. If they found out, if they had given him a work permit, that means there was a meeting of the mind between the government and him as an investor. And therefore, they ought to have given him notice of deportation as per the Immigration Act, so that he could actually go and defend himself. And on this one, I will side with Ahmed Nasr and Cliff Ombeta for what they were doing, representing a client. Because that's my area of poti, that's my area of specialization, immigration law. Deporting this man without taking him to court is also a blast and shame on this government. And also on that side, I will have to blame Uhuru's advisors. And I'm also blaming Matiang'i for that. This is bringing shame into our intelligence by now cropping up because of the differences with Ruto. You are punishing this man without giving him due process. That one, Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, if you are looking at me talking on television, I am telling you that that act was wrong. But turn the coin on the other side. This man is Turkish. Turkish government is notoriously known for extraditing their citizens from countries, and Kenya is notoriously known for deporting Turkish nationals without due process, without extradition treaty. Öcalan was deported during Moi's time. The leader of PKK is still rotting in prison 30 years today. There's another young man who was not only an asylum seeker and a refugee in England, recognized by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. He planned to come and marry his fiancée from Turkey here. The Turkish government came up and told the Kenyan government, boom, give us the man. The case is still pending in court. Mr. Arwa is the lawyer for that, and I was involved in giving consultations. And they deported that young man. So there should be no diplomatic row, because Turkey is involved in the heinous activities using our soil, and that also is wrong for the president in this country. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Halende, Professor Herman Manyora says those people advising the deputy president and also the president are actually messing things for them. Do you agree that the leader of just let's say it, Deputy President William Ruto should lie low on such things? He shouldn't be going on social media, even if he's not the one directly posting, but of course it is, we can never know. But do you agree that he needs to tone it down a bit?
It's not a matter of William Ruto not a matter of William Ruto toning down or going low. It's an issue of the things that are happening in this country currently. We have a rogue government which does not respect court order, which does not respect the rule of law, and a country which has decided to go against the priority of the country to an extent that we made BBI a priority instead of vaccinating people, instead of looking at the economy and sorting out the mess that the country was in. We have allowed this country, because before even the deputy president was stopped going to Uganda, we had an issue in 2017. And I think, Professor, you're involved in that case of Miguna's case, where a Kenyan-born citizen was chased away. So it is a trend within our government where it has developed some despotic character that we need to be wary of. Because at the end of the day, how do you face this despotic regime? You must speak. You must try and safeguard the safe space that we have.
Even if things might backfire on you?
Not things might backfire on you, because when you're fighting a despotic regime, it requires certain kind of sacrifice, certain kind of energy that can be able to expose this issue. And my good friend Barack Muluka always say, when the alligator comes out of the water and tells you the crocodile is sick, you better believe it. My sister talked about Deputy President being in government for 8 years. When Kibaki was serving Moi's government as the Deputy President or the Vice President at that time, and again as the Cabinet Secretary, he ended up being the President of this country from 2002. And he did marvelous. So you cannot judge the Deputy President by being a deputy of Uhuru Kenyatta, because at the end of the day, the buck stops with the president. So whatever is happening, it's an issue that we cannot just address it by addressing to William Ruto. We must address it with where the buck stops, with the office of the president.
Okay. Your closing remarks, Honorable Sylvia.
Yes. What is important here is the image of this country as Kenya. We have our own internal wrangles, and both professors have said what has happened is shameful for Kenya as a country, because we are talking about our immediate neighbor in Uganda. Personally, I can just drive into Uganda and come back, because I don't have any government obligations at the moment. However, His Excellency the Deputy President has an obligation in this country as the Deputy President, and as he has rightly said it himself. And so for that reason, he should know also the legal binding behind his travel in between the two nations. And also the fact that, this man was actually caught in Germany for Terrorism Act. They both said you have to be careful with that. That even in any country, be it the West, be it Asia, it's a serious issue to tackle, because it opens up gaps where we have, as a country, we are still fighting Al-Shabaab. We are still, in the fear of terrorism. And so to know that these people that fund these programs are actually having access within the country only God knows what they can be able to do subliminally without knowledge. And so the internal security has every right. And, you know, they do so well to make sure that they curb any possibilities of getting us into danger as a country, because all we need in this country is peace. So all I can say is that it was wrong on his part. He should have checked his background very well. And at the same time, you know that you cannot play both sides. You cannot say, I'm not in the government, and then say, I'm also in the government, I'm not leaving. You have to take a stand. So the whole 5 years of this past period, as we go into 2022, has been such a shame to the country, has been such an entire shame to the country because of what is transpiring.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we can agree on is the remaining 363 days to say are going to be even more, bumpy for the country as the temperatures continue to rise.
Very bumpy.
Right. And I want to say thank you, because we need to go back home to our loved ones and attend to other duties, because time is up for us right here on the show. But of course, to our viewers who've been watching us, I see Michael, who says Musalia can make a good leader if Raila Odinga retires right now and fails to be in the ballot come 2022. The contest won't be sweet. DP will win so easy. He's the only healthy opponent for the chief hustler. Otherwise, the stations will be closed very early. This is if the Raila Odinga does not run. They say William Ruto will win this thing very early na tutafunga hiyo kitu.
Actually, they are doing that to manipulate people's minds. If His Excellency Raila Odinga ran for presidency, Deputy William Ruto will win by midnight. But the fear ticket is Musalia Mudavadi against William Samoei Ruto.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the contest ticket.
Right. Another one says we need a model that will cater for all Kenyans rather than a selected few. I think they're talking about the bottoms up.
Yes.
And they feel the bottoms up is just focusing on the few, those in the bottom.
You see, bottom up, not just focusing on the few. It's when you uplift those one at the bottom, you make those one who are at the top comfortable, so that they are not overtaxed, they are not overburdened, because we must reduce the dependency ratio in this country.
Right. Another one says Kenyans need issue-based politics rather than propaganda of tarnishing other people's names. Prof, do you feel this is what the current contenders are doing?
I'm running for president.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, I will ask Kenyans to decide. Right now, people can be laughing at what I'm saying. Of course, they have a right to do so. And maybe I'm the only one among them who doesn't have the feelers of people behind me. I'm self-made. I'm self-made right from Chokorat, where I am today. And I've gone to school the hard way. I've lived in the West. I've come back home to show my patriotic stand. I've done so many things. I don't want to tell people what I've done, but I feel that I'm the one who is fit to recover this country from this lunacy of recycled materials.
Right. Mike says the bottom-up economy is better as compared to what the opponents are offering. There are no agendas for common mwananchi. They are just promising the fruits of BBI and how a written and an illegal document will solve post-election violence. One more before we go. Politicians have a long way to convince their agenda to the electorate. From the Pesa Mfukoni to bottom-up to others will develop. The people of Kenya will decide which model will work for them in the ballot. One last one from Kawangware's Finest says, now Sylvia Mulama is trying to convince the masses that the Pesa Mfukoni of Musalia Mudavadi is better than the bottom-up of DP Ruto and made in Kenya of Right Honorable Raila Odinga. You choose to eat the buttered bread. This is what anafikiria. Wiseman says, the panel is on fire and you just can't fail to love the show. Some really great discussion today. Thank you so much for making time. We couldn't read all of the tweets, but also we have a lot to discuss. I can only hope that we can be able to have a residency somehow for us to be able to become. See, this studio is
Very nice.
Very nice,
I'm in
very,
love
very
with the
nice
way
ambient.
What you're doing actually has really raised my system. And I think, as we have spoken here, nobody has beaten another one, abusing. This is the most civilized platform I've come across.
Right.
People have spoken well, people have accommodated each other, and this is what we want for Kenya.
Right.
Rather than coming to fight. Come on.
Yeah. Solutions-focused conversations.
Yes.
That is what we are about. Except for where someone here said, wengine ni wendo wazimu, but
No.
Right, so let me say thank you to our technical teams, those who have been behind the scenes, our camera crews, the controls, and of course, those who have been also on our social media platforms, and for you who have been here with us till this particular time, thank you for watching. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Eugene, unajua wazee huona.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700